Shields up, Ironbreakers. We're kind here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter, and today I figured I'd do a video telling you guys how you can go about getting started making your own mixed sets for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. As you guys know, I've been playing this game quite a bit over the last couple of weeks since we haven't really had a whole lot of updates in Monster Hunter World. That provided me with the perfect window of opportunity to dive deep into Generations Ultimate. And if you've watched my live streams in the past, you know that once I get invested in a Monster Hunter game, it's just this rabbit hole that I can't help but getting deeper and deeper until I experiment with all of the playstyles that I want to try out and do a bunch of different builds and all of that jazz. And let me tell you something, you have no idea how deep the rabbit hole goes with Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. This is going to require you guys to use a lot of third-party websites and stuff like that if you really want to min-max as much as possible. Now, most of the stuff is present in-game and you can figure it out for yourself if you just play the game, but if you really want to min-max, you're going to need a couple of third-party tools that I will mention as we go forward here, because I know that a lot of people have been watching the live streams and a lot of you guys are like, hey, you know what? I like Monster Hunter World. Let me take a stab at GU. And now you're jumping into GU and you're like, whoa, 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 things are very different in this game. And yes, they are. So for starters, let's talk a little bit about armor skills, because armor skills work very different from Monster Hunter World. As a matter of fact, it was one of the things that was very surprising to me the very first time that I went to the Monster Hunter World beta. I was like, what do you mean I equip an armor piece and I instantly get like one skill point? What does that mean? Don't I need to stack a bunch of them to actually get the actual skill? That was something that was very surprising the way that it worked. And in my opinion, the system is a little bit better in Monster Hunter World because it's much more intuitive. And here, it's a little bit more complicated. So the way that things work is, as you guys begin crafting armors, you will notice that each armor is going to have a certain number of skills that it gives you. And some of you might even think, holy crap, this armor gives me 3 attack. This is friggin' amazing. Not so much, because basically the way skills work in this game is in a tier system. So usually most skills you'll have to stack them up to at least 10 to trigger the most basic version of the skill. And if it's a skill that has multiple tiers, then you might want to take it up to 15 or maybe even 20, depending on the skill that we're talking about. To give you guys an idea, with the skill Critical Eye, if you get plus 10 Critical Eye, that gives you 1 level of Critical Eye. If you get 15, that gives you 2 levels of Critical Eye, which increases your affinity by, I believe, 20%. If you get plus 3 Critical Eye, which is 20 points in Critical Eye, then that will get you your Critical Eye plus 3, which is the maximum, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I haven't used a whole lot of high-level Critical Eye on my sets. I tend to use other skills. But basically the point is you have to mix and match different armor pieces if you really want to optimize your loadouts in order to get all of the skills that you can possibly want. Now, one of the things that I've been telling everybody that is starting with Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate is to try and get the database app. Now, if you have a PC, you don't necessarily need this. Maybe you don't want to have an app on your phone. If you have a PC, you can just go to Kiraniku, just Google Kiraniku and mhgu, and there's a massive database there. It has all the information you could possibly need about monsters, parts, anything that you need. Like, for instance, you might get to the smithy, you see oh, this armor requires this part, I don't know where this part comes from. You can just put that into Kiraniku, boom, Bob's your uncle, done. But then the app that I've been telling people to get, because, to me it's just easier to look that stuff up on my phone, is mhgu DB. It is a very useful database. You can look up anything in there. It is also very useful, for instance, because you might not know what skills do. In Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, you get a little explanation there. You can actually browse just a list of skills if you want to, and that will enable you to figure out how stuff works. And you'll also notice that certain armor pieces are going to have negative skills. So maybe something gives you handicraft, but then takes away from sharpness, which is the razor sharp skill. And vice versa. Maybe you want to get sharpness, which is razor sharp, but then that takes away from handicraft, which makes it kind of hard for you to mix and match different armor pieces because they're taking skills away from each other. Now, you can simulate your own armor sets through the app that I've just told you guys. There's an armor set builder, and you can browse all of the armors available to you and all of that jazz. but that is hands down not the most efficient way to go about it. Now, for this next step, you are going to need a PC in order to get this done, but the app that you want to try and get, if you have PC available to you, is Athena's Armor Set Search. I know what it says there. I'm not allowed to say it on YouTube. Hopefully the bot will not censor the video on account of the fact that that word is there, but that stands for Athena's Armor Set Search. Now, the way this works is you can download this software. You can just Google it up and download it from the official website. I'm not going to link it in the video because, you know, people might think, oh, it might be a virus or something. Just Google it up. It's super easy to find. Download it. And then in here, you can set a bunch of filters to decide the stuff that you want to get. Now, for starters, I should mention that one of the things that you might want to do, because it depending on the level of progression that you're at, is you might want to change your guild quests and your village quests to match where you're at if you're just trying to optimize your set for your current level of progression. So say, for instance, you're only at like, I don't know, 5-star quests in the village, and in guild, you might be like, I don't know, at 5-star quests, where would you be? You'd be like 2 quests, right? And then that's going to severely limit our options, but basically what this is going to do is it's going to only show armor pieces that you can obtain at your current level of progression. Say, for instance, okay, I just want something that increases my damage. So you want attack up L in a set. You can do a quick search here, and boom, it'll tell you, okay, here's what you got to do. You can get Hermitor Braces, Nargacuga Folds, and Hermitor Greaves, and Obituary Vertex. In my case, I would have to use charms. I should say use no charms because I have my own charms there. But yeah, it'll show you all of the solutions, and then you can decide for yourself, like, okay, which one do I want to get? Now, right here, I have it set to sort through additional skills. So usually I put a bunch of skills in there, and then I just say, hey, see if you can get all of these skills and anything else that you can get. Show that solution on top, because sometimes you might get certain armor pieces that come with some skills that you didn't want, but if you put a couple of more points in, you might be able to get an additional skill. Most of the time, in my cases, it ends up being critical eye 1. A lot of my sets just have critical eye 1 because they just end up going like that. But anyway, I have it sorted by extra skills, but you can also sort it by difficulty, for instance, because maybe you don't want to deal with some of the harder monsters on your current tier of content, so you can sort it through difficulty, and it will show you like the easier monsters that you can check out. And also, maybe you see a piece of gear here that you're not familiar with, like, oh, what's that? What the hell's an obituary thorax? You can right-click it, and it'll tell you what rarity it is so that you can look for it in the blacksmith. It'll tell you the defense levels that it has. It'll tell you all of this stuff. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to get it, and it also tells you the materials that it requires, so it should help you identify what monster it comes from. So like, for instance, Bulldrum Greaves is going to require Bulldrum Hide. Now in this case, you can tell Bulldrum Greaves obviously come from the Bulldrum, but sometimes the armor name will be different, and that can get a little bit messy. But yeah, you can basically set your limits here. Usually, since I've already finished the game, I just have all. And then village quests, I leave that maxed out. And a very popular set, for instance, that people tend to go for is Josiana, which includes Razor Sharp and Sharpness 2. This basically maxes out the sharpness of your weapon, and also gives you the skill that reduces how fast your sharpness gets consumed with your weapon. So it's like this game's version of Teosor's Technique, which I know that a lot of us like to use back in Monster Hunter World. Basically, you can just search a set with those 2 skills, and boom, there you go. But see, at this point is where I would go like, okay, what about some extra skills we can get in there? And then she'll tell you, okay, here you go. If you get this particular set, you can get Critical Eye +2. You can get 11 Expert. In my case, I usually put a couple of more skills. Now, by the time you get to endgame, usually it should be fairly easy to get a set with like 4 skills. So like, let's say on top of this, you want to get like Weakness Exploit. Boom. And then on top of that, you want to get Crit Boost. And this is most likely going to give us the basic Josiana. Oh, I'm not using charms. I'm going to have to use some of my charms. So I'm going to go ahead and use my charms. Quick search. Boom. And you'll notice we got Josiana right here. Now, the reason this set is called Josiana, some of you guys will be like, what the hell's Josiana? It's because it's a set made with pieces from Devil Joe and Cyanator, because it's just a really powerful endgame set that most people end up using, which is like Devil Joe piece, which is Azurian Helm, Cyanator piece, then another Devil Joe piece, and another Cyanator piece, which is why they call it Josiana. Now, in terms of charms, as you guys complete your quests, you'll be able to get charms. And as you get those charms, you can actually put them into the database so that it is aware of which charms you have available to you, which is also extremely easy to do. Let's say, for instance, oh, I found this charm that's got like 5 critical eye. You can just put the number 5 there, then look for the skill critical eye. Or is it critical up, critical element? Oh, it's actually called expert. Sorry. The whole thing about critical eye and expert, it's always confuses me. And then you can decide, okay, how many slots does that thing have? Boom, 2, bam. Then it's going to start like adding this particular charm to all of this in its calculations to determine which one is the best set for you to get. Now, I realize that not everybody's going to have a PC available to them to just do this stuff, which is why I say you can also experiment with it in the database, but it is not going to be as precise. Also, you don't have to do any of this. You can just like equip a full set of armor and go to town. Like that also works. As a matter of fact, from my group of friends that we usually play this game with, there's me, Kegrin, and Wada. Wada usually plays with full sets, and he ends up playing better than the rest of us with like the full mixed sets and stuff like that. You don't have to min-max to this level, but I know that a lot of you guys are insane in the brain like me, and you guys want to like min-max to the nth degree, and this is a piece of software that is extremely helpful in facilitating that. Now, there's more features that you can mess around with the set, so like another thing, for instance, like, oh, but I want to make sure that we don't use a specific piece of armor. So like, for instance, oh, I don't want to include Rathalos Capex R in my searches. So you can go to advanced search and you can remove specific pieces. And you can also remove specific decorations that maybe you don't have access to. Like Handicraft Jewel 3 is going to be somewhat hard for you to get before you get to end game. So you might be like, hey man, you know, just don't include that particular deco, and then it gives you a solution without including that decoration, you know, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that you can get out of this, and it is extremely useful to go ahead and do your mixed sets. But anyways, this was just a little bit of a video. Hopefully help you guys get started making your own mixed sets, min-maxing your characters and all that jazz. Maybe I'll show you a couple of the builds that I'm working on for the Gunlance, but if you really want to take my advice, it's just like the Gunlance is going to be a weapon that is going to be very hard for you to perform at a decent level in Generations Ultimate, okay? Because they really nerfed it hardcore between the previous game and this game, which like putting things into perspective, you know, sometimes in Monster Hunter World, I'm like, oh man, this Gunlance, man, it's missing this thing. It's like, dude, when you get to GU, the Gunlance from Monster Hunter World is gonna look like the best weapon ever made. But still, I'm a stubborn idiot, so I'm gonna keep at it, and I'm gonna keep experimenting with non-meta weird playstyles. Hopefully you guys will check stuff out as well. Let me know what you guys think about GU, if you are playing it right now or not. I believe that a lot of you guys are playing it, and yeah, I hope that eventually we also get the announcement for a new Monster Hunter for the Nintendo Switch. I know that a lot of people is like, put it on a real console. And it's like, I get it, but at the same time, I also want to have a handheld Monster Hunter, so it is what it is. Either way, appreciate you guys watching the video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button. If you did not enjoy it, hit the dislike button. Feedback is always important. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay safe, and may your shields never break.